Python integration. If you don't know what Python is, it's probably difficult for you to see just how important something like this is for a modern BI tool like Dundas BI. When I first saw this released years ago, I hadn't been so excited about a new feature since, the addition of charts and data visualization in general. And that's not a huge exaggeration. Let me show you the basics of what Python can do in Dundas BI in the hands of someone who knows that language. I'll even build you a pretty cool demo at the same time. I'm Jeff, and wait, what do you call a snake that's 3.14 meters long? A python. Get it? Never mind. I'm Jeff, and this is Off the Charts with Jeff. Before we go and build a demo for you, let's get into some basics. Dundas BI allows you to use Python code, and it's executed on your local Python server, and the results can be used within Dundas BI, the application. This is completely open, and you can pretty much run any code you want. The only limitation is that Python must return some data. This is all about data, and we're not rendering visuals here. Sometimes we do get asked, can you have visuals coming out of a language like Python? But to us, this seems a little bit silly. You're purchasing a large and very powerful enterprise data visualization tool. Why would you want to pull visuals from another application? So to us, that's a bit odd. Now, another thing is that you do have the option to install any other user libraries that you want. Just go over to your Python server, run pip, install, whatever it is. And in my demo, I am using a couple of libraries that I've already installed. So let's get into this. What I'm going to do is build a system where we can dynamically pull currency data live and apply it to our dashboard. We have data stored in US dollars, and I'm going to give the user the ability to choose the currency that they want, show the exchange rate, and then convert the data in a chart right on the fly. So let's get started. You're going to see that Python can be accessed through the Dundas BI data layer called the data cube. And this can be done in two ways. The first is that Python can be used as what we call an inception node, where Python code is used to pull in information. No additional data is pushed into that node to begin with. And that's what we're going to start with. So the first thing I'm going to do is create an inception node where we can have the user enter the currency they want to see, and we're going to give them the exchange rate. And from here, you'll see that we can actually put in and run our own Python code. Now, one thing you're going to see about this code is that it does have a placeholder. So this is where the user can go and actually input information. Now, in this case, you can see that I'm actually going and typing in a placeholder name, setting the data type, and then basically setting up a default, make it public, so that the user on the dashboard can talk to this parameter. You'll see it used later. Now, in terms of the code, you can see that we're not doing a lot of crazy things here. We're bringing in the pandas library, which is really useful for data work in general. And I'm also bringing in a forex library. From here, we have our parameter object, and then we're simply asking it for the exchange rate based on whatever the user's pushing in from the dashboard. You can see here that we can even preview the output. So by using the default, you can see that we're able to return Canadian to US dollars right away. And it's showing me the exchange rate live, which is really cool. Now let's go over to the dashboard and let's hook into this data cube. So there's two things I want to do here. I want to create a data label, and this data label is going to show the currency. It'll say US to whatever they select, and then actually give me whatever the conversion rate is. So let's just size and position this properly. Just play with it, the fonts a little bit to get it the way we want. And then we're going to go and hook up a parameter control to this. So in this case, I'm just going to hook up a text box control. For this text box control, I want to make sure that I'm pointing it to that public parameter that we built in the data cube. So disconnect what's already there, and then just hook up the new one. And that's it. Now when we go to view mode, you can see that the user is able to go in and type in whatever currency they want to see. So if we type in Australian dollars as an example, you can see that it's going to go and bring me that conversion rate. I type in Japanese yen, I get Japanese yen. So it's super cool that I can just dynamically get this information on a dashboard. Now the next thing we're going to do is create another data cube, and this is going to take our source data, push that into Python, and use a transformation that will change the data and apply our currency conversion on top of it. So there's two things that we need as an input for this data cube. The first one is just a really simple Python inception transformation like we just did, with a parameter because we want the user to be able to choose the currency. So all I'm doing right now is adding a parameter placeholder, making it public like we did before, and then just calling it currency. But you're going to see that the script that we add here really isn't doing anything special. It's simply returning whatever the user value is, and we're going to feed that into our next Python transformation later. So we simply just return it. Nothing complex here. And if I preview, you can see that it's simply previewing whatever the user's pushed in, or in this case, our default value. Now, the next thing I want to do with my data is actually go and apply this to real data. So let's go and find a data source that I've got. I drag that in, and from there, I'm going to add that Python transformation node. So let's add that and connect it to the two that we've already got. There we go. Now I'm going to go ahead and build a couple of placeholders. So in my data, I have revenue and continent, and I'm going to build placeholders for both of these so that we can access that data within Python in the Python transformation. So we would add both of those very quickly. And also from that inception node that we just built, where the user is inputting the actual currency value, that's going to be a placeholder as well. And if you look at the script, you can see that we are utilizing both of those placeholders and then simply applying it to all the data. So we have a very simple function that goes through everything and applies the new currency conversion. And you can see now that I'm running this, it's doing that currency conversion in the data preview directly, which is really cool. Now we just have to attach this to the dashboard. So let's check it in, go back to our dashboard. And now in this case, we're going to pull both values from the data cube that we've got here. So I bring both of those measures in. We still group it like continent, like we were doing before. And you know what? To stop this data from constantly refreshing, I'm going to really quickly go and freeze this so that it stops updating as I make changes. So now I drag both things in. That worked great. You notice how it's not waiting anymore for new values, which is cool. So it's frozen. Let's attach the parameter to it. So just like before, whatever the user selects, it's going to apply both to the actual rate we get and to the data. Let's unfreeze. And now when we actually go and view our dashboard, you'll see that I have a series with both of them converted. By default, of course, it's showing the other one now. But if we go in there and we type in Australian dollar like we did before, we just went from yen to dollar and we're showing that against the US currency, which is really cool. So this is the type of thing that Python can do. Absolutely amazing to be able to pull data from pretty much any source you can imagine, apply data transformations, apply very complex data transformations, whatever you need to do, sky's the limit. The only, caveat to this is you do need to understand Python code. Now, full disclosure, I'm not typically a Python developer, and I was able to piece together a lot of this from online samples pretty quickly. So even if this isn't something you know, it's a very well-documented language. So you might find that you'll pick it up a little bit faster than you think. Now, if you do want another example of this, I do have another video called Adding Weather Data to Dundas BI is a Breeze. Check that out, as it's going to go and actually pull weather data, and then we go and build a new widget on the dashboard that we show, which is pretty cool. Thanks for watching.